Disclaimer: the video is not for children under 13 and up, and it may contain strong language and may cover sensitive topics that aren't kid-friendly. That in mind, if my video gets marked as kid-friendly and I'm not aware, contact me immediately and I will rectify the situation. Howdy guys, your local smutmaster Lovely Death XX here. You can just call me LD for short, cause I know that's a mouthful. Ha ha ha. Mouthful. God damn it, no innuendos right now, this is some serious shit. First things first, I really shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to be safe. Absolutely under no circumstances do you go out of your way to harass any of the people featured in this video. We don't have the full facts yet, so for all we know the situation could have more to it than the fans were led to believe. In other words, don't be a Steven fan. Oof, I just realized that most of the viewers seeing this will probably be exactly that. Just a joke guys, forgive me, but seriously, don't attack anyone in this video. Another thing to keep in mind, don't let the title of this video fool you. I'm not going to just be talking about the incident and giving my opinion on how big of an asshole Dan from DanPlan is. I'm also going to be putting in a few theories that I have, backed by my own personal observations, as well as giving some tips on what should be done to potentially save the channel from ruin. So, for you guys out there who don't know who DanPlan is and the situation that followed, let me fill you in. I put the video down below if you would like to pause this and go watch real quick, but in the meantime, I'll give you a nutshell version of it. What is DanPlan? DanPlan was a wonderful, wholesome animation storytime channel that featured RPGs and just random games and challenges overall. Think Critical Role, but with animations and a tad bit more casual. At least that's how I saw it. The channel, to my knowledge, is 4 to 5 years old. You guys are gonna fucking hate me, but time for some mathematical equations. You have 3 best friends who've been together since angsty baby school, aka middle school. Dan, Hosa, and Steven. Dan plus Hosa plus Steven plus YouTube channel equals DanPlan. Remember this equation. Humor my weird-ass brain, noobs. Anyways, these 3 best friends got to thrive together just off of making fun YouTube content. Sounds like the dream, right? Well, sadly it wasn't all it was cut out to be for them, like most YouTubers will tell you. The fans didn't see it because the 3 are rather smart people. They don't put their negative emotions into their channels, so no one's going to notice or ask questions. As of a week ago, during the time I'm writing this script, Steven posted a video that came out after one of his more recent videos with DanPlan. That happened 2 days prior to that. Steven announced that he was leaving DanPlan and went into depth as to why he was leaving. Steven had told people that he was being underpaid for his work and he was only making $300 while everyone else was making much more. Well, at least that's what we all thought at first from the first video. Turns out that Dan was underpaying everyone with the exception of Hosa, who got a rather huge portion of the channel's earnings. Together, the two would walk out with $48,000. This is just going off of views alone, but everyone else was only making $300 a month. Let me just say this before anyone accidentally paints Hosa as the bad guy. He was not aware of how little everyone else was making than him, as from what we've been told, Dan handles all the finances, so the only one who would actually know is Dan himself. This all happened allegedly, in air quotes, meaning there aren't any receipts to show that everyone was being underpaid, and we also haven't heard Dan's side of things that could ultimately impact the original claims depending on what evidence is brought to the table. I'm not saying this because I think Steven is lying. In fact, it's the exact opposite. I'm just trying not to be overly biased in the situation and also take into consideration that there's an undeterminable sized margin where Steven could be lying. When Steven talked with Dan, his best friend, asking why he didn't get paid nearly as much as everyone else, it led to an argument that ultimately ended with getting poor Hosa involved, who literally had nothing to do with it, and also ended with Dan telling Steven, his best friend from fucking middle school, he was just an employee. I honestly believe this because when Steven made the final video, he sounded emotionally as if he was a puppy that had just been kicked for no damn reason. I will give the benefit of the doubt to Dan for a sec though. Maybe he didn't mean it, or maybe he was misheard. he should still apologize instead of being silent, but what can we do? That's ultimately his choice. From my perspective on things like that, and being in the situation myself where I was made to feel insignificant by my former best friend, that shit fucks you up emotionally. And let me just say, Steven, if you're somehow watching this, you are my fucking spirit animal, and I love you. Platonically, of course, but you're fucking incredible, and you have a future ahead of you. Don't let anyone tell you differently. He continues to say that he stayed on the show for another 9 months, 1, because he loved the fame and fans, and 2, because he wanted to prove to Dan that he was important and that he wasn't just an employee. This man, he stayed 9 months. 9 months of putting out content for his fans and feeling like shit, instead of outright quitting then and there. That's like Markiplier levels of devotion. This man is devoted. Anyways, now to present day. Steven, one of the cornerstones of DanPlan, has left the channel and has told his story, and fans are pissed. They've already lost a whopping 60k subs. So what do I have to say to Dan, you may ask? Dan, you're a fucking asshole. Prove me wrong. Post a video explaining yourself that either proves you're innocent or shows that you've made some growth after the situation and that you fucking learned. Your fans, they deserve to hear something out of you. Some of them are probably still there because they're waiting on an explanation. If you don't do this and you lose your channel over it, there is no one to blame but yourself because you didn't do anything to fix the situation. This isn't me just saying that you're an asshole for the fun of it. It's simply that I have no reason to believe otherwise. This isn't just a statement. This is an ultimatum. Fix this or you will forever be an asshole in the eyes of your fans. To Hosa, I'm sorry that you got dragged into this mess. This has to be seriously hard on you watching your friend group collapse like that, and I know that ultimately in the long run that if Dan fails, then so do you, and that's not fair to you who's done nothing wrong and despite that has tried to fix things. Some advice, I would start looking into other side gigs, because who knows where the future is going to take your channel. A sweet guy such as yourself? I'd hate to see you go from having so much to having so little because of one person being a jackass. What will happen to DanPlan from here? Well, I guess you could say that DanPlan's fan base is one mass representation of the 4 stages of grief. Some are bargaining, looking for other members to cling to. Some are in complete denial that this is all still going on. Some are just flat out pissed, and then the remaining some are accepting it and either staying with the fan base or leaving it. But the question is, how long is that going to last? That equation from earlier? 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 5. 1 plus 2 does not equal 5. They just removed their number 3, a very loved number 3 at that, and now their channel's not going to be the same. What they need a good number 3, so either they need to replace Steven with someone who is just as interesting, or accept the fact that they're going to begin to flounder. Dan plus Hosa plus Steven equals DanPlan. Dan plus Hosa minus Steven does not equal DanPlan. I see it as this: if DanPlan can get their new equally good number 3, there's still going to be much dismay with the fan base. Some might be cool with it, however, many of those who have been there since Steven might feel disrespected, and they might feel that Steven himself is being disrespected. In more extreme cases, the newcomer may be held to unrealistic standards and also might have a small hate group as opposed to a love group, like all the original members have. This might also cause more people to leave because their god, their husbando, their favorite psychopath, etc. is being disrespected. Unfortunately, this is what Dan is failing to realize. His actions have a serious fucking ripple effect. Let's be real with ourselves for a second though. We all know who the next number 3 might be. It's most likely going to be Jay himself, given how Dan made a running joke that practically beat how similar Steven and Jay are into the heads of the fan base. This inquiry though, I really hope doesn't come true, because that deeply scares me, and the reason for that being is that Jay is a really fun person to have around on DanPlan. I would hate to see him in a position where he's flat out hated and disrespected because the fan base might see him as a replacement for Steven. But then again, that's on the theoretical lines of whether or not Jay would actually join full-time. So as for what will happen to DanPlan, they're either going to fail or they're going to go stagnant for a while. The next thing I'm going to say is just rational reasoning on my own behalf and is not so much on behalf of Dan, so do not attack him for what I'm about to say. Please don't. I, LD, personally think that there's a possibility that Dan could remove all the content involving Steven as a means of starting a new fan base in order to reverse the damage. There's flaws in this reasoning simply because I don't know how Dan is as a person and what his morals are, so that may be entirely against his morals for all we know, but that's just a possibility that could happen. I came to this conclusion because theoretically he could try and make a clean slate for himself and not piggyback off of Steven's fame. In other words, make the fandom forget about Steven. At least that would be the best business decision if he can't get Steven back. What should DanPlan do to fix this situation, you may ask? Truth be told, I don't know if the situation can ever truly be fixed. Steven has already declared that he will not be returning to DanPlan, even if him and Daniel were to work things out. But they may still have a chance if Dan is willing to take the proper steps to do some damage control. First step, reevaluation of how he treats his employees. Whether they're just employees to him or not doesn't mean they're easily replaceable, especially not a well-loved actor such as Steven. Whether they're just employees or not doesn't mean he shouldn't treat them like friends and treat them with respect. He got a little too ballsy for his own good and it landed him in deep shit. Step 2. Dan either needs to make a public statement declaring and properly defending his stance, or he needs to make a public apology to his fan base and let them know that he is trying to work things out, as well as he needs to make a damn good attempt at letting Steven know how sorry he is, which according to Steven's stream, he's yet to accomplish even that. What Daniel needs to take from this is that he needs to understand how much emotional pain he caused Steven and address that, as well as show some growth from it and let Steven know that he is trying to be a better person. At the end of this, I hope we can all learn one thing, and that's that friendship, no matter how old it is, can be very fragile. The question is, what is each person's breaking point before they just throw everything away because they can't handle the pain? Like I said previously, I've been in Steven's shoes. I lost my best friend of 6 years. I would have gone to the ends of the earth to make this person happy, and that ultimately led to my downfall, as I was made out to be so insignificant to her, and thus the friendship broke. My family warned me of this kind of thing and how bad treatment can start to take its toll. They hated her because they saw that she had already begun disrespecting me, and I never understood that. So, if there's one thing that I can leave for Steven as advice, it's going to be hard. It's going to hurt. But moving on is possible. You're a sweet guy and you deserve better. If Dan isn't going to try and fix things between you two, then that's his loss. Your fans love and care about you because you're an interesting individual with an amazing personality, and you've shown that you do care. Those mixed emotions that you talked about during the stream, I felt those as well. They suck, but they're just part of the healing process. That process which will lead you to great success and start you on the path of being a better person. Most of those fans, they don't go there for Dan. They go there for you and Hosa. Stay strong, bud. Take care of yourself. Make sure you take the time to get better. I wish you much luck in becoming a teacher. Not that you need it, but I know your students would love you. Well, as y'all can see, this video had a lot of heart put into it because I don't just follow a content creator because they have an interesting channel concept. I follow them because they appeal to me on a personal level. So doing a video on a channel I'm currently subscribed to, that was shit that tugged at the feel-goods a little, not counting how it reminded me of some of my own experiences. Well, guys, that's all I have for you today. And I do hope that you can apply this video to your own life in ways and learn to improve yourselves in what you know. I know I've been off the grid for a while. I've had stuff going on in my life, plus the fact that when I'm not doing YouTube videos and looking for work, I'm running a bunch of RP servers on Discord. Also, keep in mind I don't get paid to do YouTube, so I don't pump videos out on the daily. The reason for this is simple. I can't force myself to work on a video or else I won't put my heart into it and there will be half-assed content. And I respect you guys too much to give you half-assed content. I do plan though to shift gears with my videos a little. I still do try to do commentary because I won't lie to you, I kinda enjoy talking shit about people who deserve it. But I do plan on doing some more videos covering my more complex OC. People had told me that she seemed rather interesting, and any of you who've been on my channel for a while, you should know the character by now because my most viewed videos are commentaries that feature speed paints of this OC. Well, hope you all have a wonderful, fabulous day. Make sure to take care of yourselves, drink water, eat food, etc. And just have a wonderful 2020. This is your local smut master, Lovely Death XX, drawing boobs and signing off.